Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso at thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Reach out to me directly, tmosso at thewatchbox.com. And today, we're discussing a 2015 limited edition of 500 pieces, 42 millimeters in stainless steel. This is the Grand Seiko 55th Anniversary Automatic SBGR097, a birthday present from Grand Seiko to itself. It features a distinctive dial, a handsome Zaratsu polished case, and a 3-day automatic manufacture 9S61 caliber. So the bare size, it's a little bit large for a standard Grand Seiko automatic, but it wears its mass with class. As you can see, 42 millimeters in diameter. It is a big watch by Grand Seiko dress watch standards, 13.7 millimeters thick, 47.7 millimeters lug-to-lug, but if you add the solid end links of the bracelet, the total distance across the wrist is 50.6 millimeters, with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Now throw the watch on the wrist. My wrist is 16 centimeters in circumference. You get a good sense of it. It's not a broad watch in terms of actual lug span. It doesn't have a large wingspan across the wrist, and you can see that to good effect from directly overhead. The end links do flare out a little bit, but 50.6 millimeters is not terribly broad, and I think you could still wear this watch well on a wrist as small as 14.5 centimeters circumference. Taking a quick look at the bracelet, it's a handsome 3-link design, and it's relatively discreet as it's primarily of satin finish with polished flanks and a lovely rolled bevel on the side, transitioning from the satin to the polish. As with Grand Seiko's steel bracelet practice, the removable links are fixed by screws, not pin sleeves, and you can see there's a half link on the clasp that allows you to fine-tune the size, and there are more removable links on the opposite side. There's also a single swing arm deployment. Let's get that sticker out of there. And twin trigger release, so you must press both triggers to pop the clasp open. It's not friction fit, it's not a cheap clamshell. This is the way a luxury watch clasp should be made, solid and trigger actuated. Rolling over to the case band, you can see it has a wonderful arcing form, almost like a tonneau case when viewed in profile. This is the hand-laid polish that Grand Seiko describes as Zaratsu polishing. It's achieved by holding the surface to be polished against a spinning tin plate on a Zalitz machine. And at the end of the day, it takes about 3 years to learn this craft. It is effectively what the Swiss would call poly noir or black polish, optically smooth and mirrored. So this is a hand-finished case, and that's before we get to the dial. This is a hand-finished watch. There is a screw-down crown. The watch is 100 meters water-resistant. The bezel is polished, and as you can see, conical in profile. And then the dial features hands and indices that have been finished manually on diamond-tipped milling tools by artisans who only create hands and indices at Grand Seiko. This micrometric finishing is the other element of the watch that is hand-finished to a high degree of proficiency. You can see the sharp break between the razor-like polished facets of the Dauphine minute hand and the satin-finished top. That's not easy to do evenly on components of that size, and you can see the same contrast between polish and satin with faceting has been lavished on each of the indices. Now this is a no-date dial, which means it is exceptionally well balanced, and I'm doing my best to capture the Grand Seiko pattern on the base. It is a blue metallic dial, a rather deep, dark, and intense blue, and there is a repeating Grand Seiko logo motif. If you can't quite see it in the video, rest assured it is present, and it adds a subtle bit of nuance to the dial and a very quiet beauty as you appreciate the watch more, but you also see more the closer you get. Now turning it all over, this limited edition of 500 pieces, as you can see, 55th anniversary, includes the caliber 9S61, automatic winding, 3-day power reserve. It's adjusted in 6 positions, which is actually one more than a standard chronometer and quite impressive. Pivots on 33 joules, it beats away at 28,800 vibrations per hour, and as you can see, it features a stop seconds function, which allows you to pull the crown out, and now the seconds hand stops, and you can set the watch against a reference time. The movement is watchmaker assembled and watchmaker regulated, so there's a lot of handcraft involved in the creation of this Grand Seiko. Just as with many Grand Seiko watches, you get a surprising amount of human touch for a watch that is, for all practical intents and purposes, priced and marketed as an equivalent to the machine-made Omega and Rolex sports watches from Switzerland. So this, in my opinion, is the more soulful option. Reach out to tmosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.